This is a single building inside of Cove, which we saw the bigger scene of before. Just coming back into about the correct game scale zoom to kind of see what it'll look like. And again, these are all very preliminary because, for example, to show you the areas that I think are working about like they will in the final version and ones that aren't, this ground texture is working particularly well, but you'll notice this tree is pixelating a bit. And that the technology is not doing that. It's just because the original artist didn't create a dense enough texture map for that particular scene. And so one of the things we're trying to make sure it doesn't do is look classically 3D in the sense of lots of pixelated stuff. And so you shouldn't see any of that when we get the final version. Similarly, you can see it here along the top of this. That should also not be there. This was done with an 8-bit renderer, and the current renderer in the game is actually 16-bit VGA. And so it actually even looks much better than this. Plus, this is a inkjet color printer version, so it doesn't do justice.
It's going to be Windows 95 or still DOS-based?
Nope, you can't run it under DOS. It has to be Windows 95. And these are scenes out of some of the flicks. More British. There's a flashback sequence to Ultima IX. This is showing the summoning of Pyros. The dragons that show up in a number of the flicks, and you can ride during the game. And a dream sequence starting with Lord British. It starts in Lord British's dream. This flick is actually really cool when the whole room dissolves and falls apart and presents the dream world beyond it. It's actually very cool. And that's the last one.
What about the old companions in Ultima IX?
They're all there.
Prey,
Prey is dead.
The Prey is dead, not coming back.
But he plays a part. Prey is actually still dead, but he does play a part.
Yeah. But it still looks like a solo player game. How do they all come in?
In this case, there's no party. At this point in time, the party doesn't function. But the party will travel as a group. As before, but there will probably only be 3 or 4 people at a time in the party.
What about the plans for Ultima after Ultima IX?
We of course, after Ultima Online, which I call Multima, and Ultima IX, we're at least going to do, one of the things I'm thinking about right now is actually combining Ultima 10 and Ultima 2 into one game. And so I'm interested in doing what I'll call an epic story game, but in a multiplayer environment. Whereas Ultima Online right now is more of is much more of an environment and less of a story. I'm interested to try to tackle the problem of developing a really detailed, rich story inside of a multiplayer environment. So I have no idea how to do that, but that's one of the reasons why I'm interested.
Great. And nobody can imagine you doing something else than Ultima. Do you have any plans how you will go on after that?
Yeah, in fact, interestingly, there's I may actually be dabbling into the Wing Commander universe, strangely, where there's a game fiction that my own pet name for this fictional basis I've called it Bounty Hunter, and after Ultima Online, we're actually going to do another online game that we'd like to tie to the Commander property, and the Bounty Hunter fiction is the fiction that I think will work best with that cumulative technology, and so I'm very interested in taking the Ultima Online group and doing that property.
By the way, what about the rumor that Chris Roberts is going to leave Origin and do
that's not a rumor.
films?
That's already happened.
It's official.
That's official.
Okay.
So
he wants to go to Hollywood. What he's going to do?
Well, that's an interesting question. Chris's big thing has always been movies.
Yes.
His big goal is to make $30 million movies. And of course, Origin's core business is making games. And so and about $10 million that's about as much money as you can spend on a movie and still make a game successful. And so Chris is really interested in pursuing more of the movie side. So.
And what do you personally think about the chances of Chris Roberts in Hollywood? I think he's gonna ripped in pieces if he's going with his skills to Hollywood.
I agree with you, in the sense of I think it's gonna be very tough. In the sense of making interactive games and making movies are very different. And just like, for example, I don't think Steven Spielberg will ever be a great competitor of ours in the interactive arena, nor do I think that Steven Spielberg has much to fear from any of us. But I think of all the people in our industry, the person who has the strongest possibility of at least surviving in that arena is probably Chris. Chris is definitely the most skilled in our industry at doing that. And there's no question he'll have to make interactive versions of anything he creates, at least in the short term, just to get funding. But Origin and Electronic Arts were not willing to sign up and fund a $30 million movie, even with the game. So Chris is going off to see if he can get that kind of backing. If he pulls it off, which I very much support. I hope he does. I think it would be really difficult to do. But if he pulls it off, then we'll be talking to him about the interactive aspects of those movies too.